Okay. You're starting to record.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
so hi, Dennis. Would you like to just kind of introduce yourself and who you are and what you do?
Yeah, sure. My name is Denis Healy. I'm a financial broker. I'm also a personal solvency practitioner. I've worked in the finance industry for the last 35 years, so 25 years in banking, and have been through lots and lots of courses, be them sales courses, business associated courses, but touching on what I now know was, some of it was NLP, breaking through paradigms, getting ready for change, all of that. I've been working on my own for the last number of years, last 10 years now, left the corporate structure. And whilst I like what I do, I've ended up helping people, particularly on the debt side. So getting to really know and see people in trouble. Number one, you're trying to help them from a financial point of view, but there's a lot of psychological issues that come with debt, and they can be applied as well in planning for trying to help people with on the positive side of the balance sheet to make the most of what they have, because everyone has aspirations. And I think a lot of people in banking and finance don't really get under the bonnet, to use the phrase, to find out what makes people tick. So I think finding out what people's hopes, dreams, and aspirations are, and having the skills to do so in a questioning technique that can be applied to actually help them find what their true dreams are, and then from a financial point of view, we can help them crunch the numbers. But the numbers are largely ancillary, in lots of cases. But I think, to really find out what somebody really wants, where they want to get to, that is key. And NLP can help and does help me in doing that.
Fantastic. So what was your life like before NLP, before you did it? I know you did the practitioner course, and it's a professional course, but what about for yourself in terms of what can you remember what it was like before?
Only bits, but other people, the feedback I've got from other people, I think, which is most important, is that they see me as slightly different. They can't they know I did a course. Some of them thought I joined a cult.
A cult of people who can think for themselves.
Yeah. So the more I explained, around what I do and what I've gone through from the course perspective, they go, yeah, I get it. I didn't know what it was myself before. I have done coaching and various other courses, where now I look back and I know that people were using NLP techniques. There is nothing cultish about it. It's using science, neurolinguistic science, and neuroplasticity, all of those things, into number one, finding out what makes you tick yourself. What's going on with your brain, what made you and formed you into the person you are now. I think that's number one, and then applying that in your interactions with other people, either to help yourself, or most importantly, from a professional point of view, to be able to help other people and coach them, be it in their financials, be it in their through a difficult situation, or help them get to where they want to get to. So so do I just see a distinct difference in myself? No, but I think people who would view me have given me the feedback where they see the difference. Plus, there is a confidence issue. Yeah, it's helped my confidence. The
question I was going to ask was there a particular problem that you did want to overcome? And so I know confidence was.
I was naturally confident, but there were a couple of situations in my life whereby, number one, I was well able at one point to get up and talk to a crowd. For various reasons, I ended up getting stage fright, and getting back on the horse I found quite difficult. So that, through working with you, Sarah, and doing the course, I'm back well able to do that again. So it's not a problem, but there are certain issues and blocks we get. I certainly would have had some, and well, not some, maybe a lot of self-limiting beliefs. They're not all gone, but certainly some of them have been gone. Yeah, and I now know how to approach them. and I know how to manipulate my way around those beliefs. I don't have all the answers, but it certainly has given me
nobody does really.
The tools, I would say, to get around those. Yeah, absolutely.
And how did you actually find me? Because I know, you were actually the first, for that particular course, you were the first one to sign up. And so how did you actually find out about me and about the course?
How I found out about you was, very simply, I did 2 coaching sessions with a lady here in Limerick, and she gave me Richard Brander's books and some other books, which I flicked through, never sat down and read. And I said, that's something I'd like to do. She had looked at where, there might be courses. She did her practitioner course herself, and she was looking at doing a refresher. She looked at, so one day she sent me a link. It was a Facebook link to yourself. And I think, it was from there it started. Yeah. Plus, doing the course, threw together a lot of, an eclectic mix of people, diverse in age, from a legal cert student to a nurse to a business advisor, to lots of people. So, an eclectic mix of people, all with various, problems they wanted to overcome, or dreams, hopes, and aspirations. And from there, it was great to meet other people. And work with them.
Was there anything in particular that made me and my courses kind of stand out from other options? Because obviously there's lots of options out there in terms of how to do NLP.
Yeah, the options I looked at were everything from taking a week off, going to London to do a course there. I saw that there were sporadic courses available in Dublin. But for me, I think the key was going and spending weekends, doing it over a weekend, with breaks to assimilate the information and to practice then both externally and with the other I suppose team members, classmates or whatever. We took time out, practice together, practice the techniques. We had the webinars, interspersed in between, again, for an opportunity to ask questions. So I think, excuse me, doing it just on a flat week, I don't. For me, it wouldn't work. I think doing it spread out over months, to give you number one, time to practice, to read, to put it into your daily life piece by piece, and then to work it out over. It's like training for anything. It's like training for a marathon. You're not going to do it in a week, So.
And I used to do it that way. And hand on heart, I used to do the very intensive accelerated courses, and people would obviously come out with huge changes, but what I noticed was they didn't really know why they changed, and they didn't really have the confidence with the techniques. So that was one of the reasons why I extended it, was to really give people that confidence and that ability to practice.
I think the ability to practice and hone the techniques with others, within the environment, in the safe environment, number one. And then number two, to actually practice it and go back with the questions and what worked for you, what didn't work for you. That's very important.
Yeah. And was there anything that almost prevented you from doing the course, or did you make up your mind straight away? Was there any obstacle that you felt you overcame yourself?
No, because once I decided to do it, I did look. I said, this is one thing. If I was to change, and which I'm going to do, if I'm going to change career slightly and change the way, I don't think I'll ever leave finance totally behind me, but I do want to give it a bit back. I want to get into the coaching space more and more, and I can do it in parallel. I've been doing it unknowns to myself, for quite some time, but I needed an actual vehicle that was going to take me along the thinking path that I needed to get there. And certainly the practitioner course and the master practice, which I start in September with you, that's going to do it.
Well, that's a great testimonial in itself, isn't it? That you really do want to continue and want to go on to the next level.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And again, I attended the NLP conference in London. Met a whole new bunch of people, a new tribe there,
Yeah.
and I got even bigger insight into how it all works and how one can take it and use it within your existing business environment, or if one wants to change. So it can be used in a myriad of ways.
Absolutely. So what do you feel like you've achieved since you've done the course? Like what has been different for you?
What has been different? I think the way I listen to language, the way I will observe people, I will listen more carefully to what they say, listen to the words, and maybe feed them back their own words sometimes, and to find out really what is making them tick, or what has made them who they are now, and then through words again and questioning techniques to actually find out, or maybe steer them to where they want to get to.
Fantastic.
Plus I think the big one is we can all talk, but talk without meaning is can be cheap. Talk is cheap, but being careful in the language that one uses and listening carefully to the language that somebody else uses are key to communication.
Absolutely, and it's amazing how these simple tools are missing from so many other trainings, particularly when you're dealing with people. To me, it's one of the most essential aspects is actually how you listen and how you speak, and actually what it's creating inside you and the other person.
I remember one time meeting a troupe professionally, and the man was a periodontist. And so he's a dentist. He was about 4 steps up from being a dentist. And he said to me he had spent something like 16, 17 or 18 years studying. And now he's earning money. But he said, in all my study years, no one ever taught me about money. No one ever taught me about how to use money, about anything, And he said, surely there should have been some modules thrown into that 18 years of professional study to teach me about money. But I would turn that one on its head and I'd say, okay, I was taught about money, etc. But people from Leaving Cert, and the reason I say this is one of the participants in the court was a Leaving Cert girl. If I had been given that opportunity, to learn and practice NLP at that age,
I know, imagine. Imagine what life would have been like.
Where I might be, or imagine where we all might be, or imagine where the world can be. Because I'm going to sound, I hope I don't sound too pious in saying this, but if you take where the people say we want to change the world, we want to change this, we want to change that, we want to change the environment. The environment is the big one at the moment. Me Too was a big one a couple of years ago. All of these changes, but what makes the change is it's the sum of the individuals who contain the world, and the way they think and the way they communicate. So if you could, people on a global basis were educated properly about communication and how to avoid conflict, or how to deal with conflict, or how to maybe take some more time and listen to the other person's point of view before they form an opinion, it would be a different place. So to me, it's something that should be it should be placed in the school curriculum in some shape or form. Absolutely.
Fantastic. And so did anything exceed your expectations in terms of either just by doing NLP or doing my particular training?
I think your particular training, it was hand-holding is probably a wrong word to use, but it's a very safe collegiate environment, the way we worked, and the friendships, and the team effort, and everyone trying to help each other. I suppose that is one thing that stands out, as opposed to, nowadays I've done lectures and stuff for work, but you attend, you take the notes, and off you go, you're on your own, a group learning, which is probably the way we worked, that group learning, and all for one and one for all, that certainly did help, and if somebody's having a bad weekend, because they can also, it was a forum where people could come and talk about, what's going on for them, and it helped people perhaps who didn't or weren't able to open up before about how they actually, we talk about feeling, you know, it's okay to say you're not feeling good or whatever, but it did open up. I know in certain cases where people who weren't, you know, good at talking, weren't good at expressing their feelings, there was a safe environment for them to do so, you know.
That's great to know. That's really great.
Yeah.
So what would be the main reason you would recommend someone to do this training?
To be a better self, to get under the bonnet, as I say, know what is making you tick, looking back on past life events, without, you know, saying too much about the, or getting too technical, but the ability to get back and, you know, and look at what made you the person you are now, looking at perhaps what changes you would like to make in either yourself or your career or otherwise. But then the key is having the tools and the communication skills, both externally and internally, to do that.
Wow. And was there anything that surprised you the most on the course or from doing it?
Yeah, I went in with a totally open mind, as I do most things, but I was surprised at the utter simplicity of some of the NLP techniques, and that they work.
Yeah. Because there really isn't anything majorly complicated within NLP. Would you agree?
No, absolutely nothing complicated. There's nuts and bolts and there's science behind it. But when it comes to the actual techniques, I was surprised and, you know, rather shocked at how simple they were. But the small things that make the huge difference. Small things, yeah, making a huge difference. Yeah, yeah.
And if someone was considering NLP, I mean, I often hear a lot of people when I tell them what I do, and for those who have heard of, a lot of people haven't heard of NLP, they don't really know what it is, but for those who have, they would say, oh yeah, it's something I'd like to do, and then they never seem to really take that step. So if someone had heard about it and was considering it, what would you say to them?
Oh, just go for it. Absolutely. You know, 100% go for it, because it will change the way you view the world, yourself, help you with your thinking, helping you with your communications. There's some of the benefits that I'm not sure I can actually define, but I know they're happening.
Fantastic. Is there anything I could have done differently, do you think, that would have helped you even more or to make it even better?
Off the top of my head, no. I think it was an excellent course. I'm so glad I did it. So glad I'm looking forward to doing the next step. And yeah, no, I'd say go for it. I couldn't recommend it highly enough, quite honestly.
Oh, that's fantastic. So are there any other comments, anything else that you think would be useful for people to hear? Because, you know, as I think I said to you before when we were chatting, that it's much more important that really people hear from a student rather than from me. Because I mean, it changed my life. That's why I do it. I love helping people to change their lives, and it's not according to my agenda. It's according to your agenda and what you're looking for, what each individual is looking for. But really, it's much more powerful to hear this from someone who's and I've only just recently gone through the process too.
Yeah, no, it has certainly changed the way I view things, the way I view life, the way I communicate. Not an awful lot of small differences that are making a big difference to the way I operate now, and the way I view the world. Yeah,
and I love that. Yeah, I love that thing about small changes, big difference. You know, that's what it's all about, really.
Yeah, and a lot of fears that I may have had about things and about life and about what will he think or she think or they say or whatever, they're all gone. They're all gone. Yeah, so it has changed the way I operate. Yeah.
And I know as part of your course, the speed reading was included as well. And I know most people do it before the course starts, but you did it at the end.
I did it.
How did you find that?
Okay, the speed reading, which I did at the end, I did it back to front. It certainly would have. It's hugely beneficial. I read a lot. My way of taking a book or indeed a newspaper or stuff I had to read from my work was I'd take it and read it from start to finish. If I could stay awake for some of it, because a lot of what I have to read would be quite boring. The way I view and the way I read stuff now is totally different. After having done the speed reading, it's you know, there's 20% core content there and about 80% filler, and I was reading the filler that didn't need to be read. So for anybody who wants who has to read a lot either through study or work or reports or otherwise, I could not recommend speed reading more strongly. It is just it's key. It's key, and it's so simple. It's so simple.
And again, yeah, simple. And a lot of people say at the end of the course, this isn't really a speed reading course, is it? And I sort of say no, because it's hard to find a definition and a title that really encompasses actually what you get. But it's about really being smarter with the information you're
I would call it, if I was to rename that course, I would call it an accelerated learning techniques. That's really what it is for me.
Yeah, well, that's certainly what it did. And again, you know, I only teach the things that made a big difference in my life. And I want to pass those skills on and those techniques on. So that's great to hear that it's kind of done for you what it did for me.
Yeah, and again, when I talk about, you know, people doing it as part of their school curriculum, why that sort of technique is not taught at school level, taught at college.
Yeah, we have this conversation in the course. We have it on every course. People, you know, just it's so essential, you know, because you know, we have an information overload. Most of us, we are dealing with way too much information and not enough skill actually as to how to deal with it and what to do with it.
Yeah. So yeah, go and do it is what I'd say.
Fantastic. Dennis, thank you so much for your testimonial. I really hope that anyone considering it, you know, can really hear, you know, how powerful it really was in your life. And it was such a pleasure to have you on the course. And I always say, you know, we start off as strangers and we really end up as family.
Absolutely. And I would say you're never too young or never too old to do it.
Absolutely not. Dennis, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much.
That's all my pleasure.